Alright guys, today we're going to do a wheel bearing on this Chrysler Town & Country, and I'm going to show you guys how to properly use a hub shocker. The first thing we do is we get her up in the air, and then we have to take the brakes off. I'm going to use a small pry bar to depress the caliper piston in a little bit. Just enough, that way I can... That way, once it's depressed in, we can just take this whole assembly off as one and not have to worry about putting the brakes back together. Once we get that off, we have this 21mm and then this 21mm down here. And then we're going to use our swivel socket, our 1/2-inch impact, to take it off. Put that up right here. Get it on, and now everything's free. So then we take the rotor off, we tuck the caliper up in here out of the way. Now we have access to our bad wheel bearing. First thing we're going to do is we're going to spray all these down, all these bolts, with penetrating oil or WD-40, whatever you have on hand. We're going to take this just to kind of soak everything in. We'll soak the seam, so whenever we start to take everything apart, it comes apart easy. We also have to take that off. Then we're going to get our 32mm socket, get it on there, and try to get this axle nut off. Perfect. Now we have to try to press this CV axle in. Just a couple light taps with the hammer and it's already in. Now we have to remove this wheel speed sensor, which is actually a part of the hub, so we're just going to remove all of this. We're going to get the 10mm, get that out. We're going to pop all these rubber grommets out of here just to get them out of the way. And then this one's going to be a little bit harder. I'm going to pause it. Okay, and then we're going to pull this red tab right here. It's got to be pulled out of the way. And then once that red tab is pulled up, you press in on this button and it should slide right out. Should. Perfect. Okay, so then this just rocks its way out, and the O2 sensor's out of the way. The next thing we do is we have these, look like 14mm bolts. We get a ratcheting wrench on them. So in this one specific, it's actually a 15mm. So we need to get these 4 bolts out. This one here. Alright, now that we got all 4 bolts out of here from the back, we're going to remove this heat shield. That way, whenever this comes off, it's easier to get the wheel speed sensor out of the way and easier to install the new one. Now, with the 3 10mm out of the way and everything exposed, we install the whole reason for this video, the hub shocker. So you put it on here, like so. Sometimes if you buy them, they will come with the hardware to put it on there, or I like to use older lug nuts, and if they get destroyed, I'm alright, because I'm going to put new lug nuts on anyway. And then we're going to use our impact to tighten this down. Alright, she's on there, she's tight, everything's loose and out of the way. CV axle's pressed in as far as I can get it. Now we're going to take a hammer. We're going to beat this. We're not going to use a little baby hammer like this. We're going to use a big sledgehammer. Okay, now this is the hammer we're going to use. It's just an 8-pound sledgehammer from Harbor Freight. Everything's loose. Now it's just time to shock the hub loose. That's it. Comes right out. Once it's out, we need to take our 1/2-inch impact. And we just loosen these right up. And it's out. You can hear the bearings knocking loose around in there. We're going to clean this up. Take one of these bad boys, clean everything up there. Old piece. Then we take our new hub bearing and we install it in reverse. All right, you remember where the sensor goes? The sensor came out on this side. That means when we go on, we go this way. Then, when you put your 4 bolts in, you get them all in place and make sure that everyone lines up to make sure you have the right wheel bearing, and that as you tighten them, you go a little bit at a time, because if there's any corrosion still stuck in the way, it's kind of like a press fit. Now we're going to come through and we're going to tighten all 4 of these bolts until this bearing is sitting exactly where it's supposed to be, up against the spindle. Okay, once you get all these tightened down, I try to do them in a sequence to try to kind of work it on slowly but surely, because there's only so much of that corrosion you can get out of there without actually pulling the whole CV axle. But once we get that in place, we're going to go through and we're going to route the wheel speed sensor. We're going to route it back up and then plug that back in and then start to reassemble our brake system. All right, once that's all routed up, we're going to put back on our heat shield to make sure everything sits right. We're going to put in the 10 millimeters, one there, and then one down there. All right, after we get this wire all in place and then reconnected down here, we're going to put the axle nut on, seat the axle, and then assemble the brakes. So we're going to tighten the axle nut up. We're not going to do it all the way, just enough to get it somewhat seated. Then we're going to torque it. There, it's down. Now we're going to put the brakes on, and then I'll show you how to torque it with it off the ground. All right, once we get all the brakes on and everything's back together, we're going to take a screwdriver or a small pry bar that fits inside the rotor, so that way anytime it tries to spin, it does not move. Then we're going to take our torque wrench and we're going to set it to the right amount, which on this is 118 foot-pounds. Right there. Then we take our torque wrench, we put our axle nut socket on there, put it on. You don't pound on it, you just give it a slow, gradual push. There. And now she's good to go. We put the wheel on, pump up the brakes, and you're ready to rock and roll.